The message came in just after I'd loaded a stroke patient into the ambulance. One vibration in my pocket. One line of text. It's done. No context, no emojis, no punctuation, just those 2 words from Rachel. My heart dropped before I even unlocked my phone. I tried calling, once, twice, 3 times, straight to voicemail. I turned to Martinez, my partner. Take this one without me. He didn't ask questions, just nodded, and I bolted to my car. Lights off, hazards on. I hit every red light between downtown and our neighborhood like they didn't exist. I knew something was wrong before I pulled into our street. The flashing reds and blues were already there. An ambulance in front of our house. A cruiser parked at an angle on the curb. I sprinted across the lawn. A paramedic I didn't recognize was loading a stretcher into the back. Emma. My daughter's small body, strapped in, an oxygen mask over her face. Her arms limp at her sides, a Dora Band-Aid still on her elbow from the last time she tripped in the driveway. Daniel Briggs? A uniformed officer stepped in front of me, palm up. You need to stay back. She's my daughter, I said, trying to push past. I understand, sir, but you've been named in a domestic complaint. I can't let you approach. Rachel stood on the porch, arms crossed, her face unreadable. She found your pills, she said flatly. The ones you keep in the bathroom drawer. She thought they were candy. I didn't have any pills. I didn't even have a prescription. The only medications in that house were vitamins and children's Tylenol. That's not possible, I said. Rachel didn't flinch. You left them out. She took them. This is on you. Then she turned and walked back inside, as if nothing had happened. The officer looked uncomfortable. We'll need a statement later. I didn't answer. I just stood there, watching the ambulance disappear down the street with my daughter inside it, wondering how I was suddenly the villain in a story I didn't even know we were telling. By the time I reached the hospital, they'd already moved Emma into a private room in the pediatric ICU. I'd worked in this building 100 times, knew every hallway, every nurse, but tonight, I was just another name on a clipboard. The receptionist wouldn't even look at me. I'm sorry, sir, but there's a no-contact order in place. What are you talking about? I asked. She handed me a printed form with my name on it. Emergency Protective Order, Domestic Endangerment, signed an hour ago, filed by Rachel Briggs. I'm her father, I said, my voice tight. I'm a licensed paramedic. I need to see her. A security guard stepped closer. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to wait outside. That's when I saw Rachel down the hall, speaking to a doctor. Calm, composed, playing the concerned mother. I backed away, sat in the lobby, stared at the floor tiles until my eyes hurt. 30 minutes passed. Then an ER doctor I vaguely knew from rotations, Patel, approached. Daniel. I stood up too fast. Is she okay? She's stable. She was unconscious when she arrived, but she's breathing on her own now. My legs nearly gave out. What happened? Patel hesitated. Toxicology came back. High levels of benzodiazepines. That didn't make sense. I looked at him blankly. Sleeping medication, likely ingested within the past couple of hours. It wasn't accidental, Daniel. That was a heavy dose. There's nothing like that in the house, I said slowly. Not from me. I'm not taking sides, he said. But if you have any information about what could have happened, now's the time. I nodded once. She didn't get it from me. He studied me for a long moment, then said, "She's in room 413. You can't go in." "Not yet." I watched as he walked away. My daughter was lying behind a locked door, drugged, unconscious. And the woman I used to love was walking free with a restraining order and a rehearsed alibi. But I wasn't going to panic. I'd been trained to stay calm in the middle of chaos. This wasn't over, not even close. The official knock came 2 days later. A man in a weathered USPS jacket handed me an envelope and asked me to sign. I knew what it was before I even opened it. Inside, a temporary restraining order, filed on behalf of Rachel Briggs and minor child Emma Briggs. I was barred from any contact, direct or indirect, with either of them. No phone calls, no messages, no proximity within 500 feet. I'd saved people from overdose, pulled children from burning cars, performed CPR in grocery store aisles. But apparently, I couldn't be trusted around my own daughter. My supervisor at the station, Captain Lewis, called me in the next morning. He shut the door quietly behind me. "You want to tell me what this is?" he asked, holding up a printed email from HR. Someone had forwarded the court notice. "It's a misunderstanding," I said. "A bad one." His expression didn't change. "They're pulling you from field work until this clears." I didn't argue. No point. In this line of work, perception mattered as much as record. Rumors traveled fast, first in the break room, then in the locker rooms. I saw it in the way Martinez stopped cracking jokes, the way new hires avoided eye contact. Rachel had always been charming in public, polished, articulate. It didn't take much for her version of the story to spread. That I had a temper, that I'd left medication lying around, that Emma had nearly died because I couldn't be trusted. I checked my phone that night. Not a single message from anyone on her side of the family. Not even her sister, Leah. Just silence. Rachel was rewriting the narrative in real time, and I had no voice in the room where it was happening. So I started preparing for the only thing I could control. The truth. There's a rhythm to someone unraveling. You don't always notice it when you're close, especially if you've spent years making excuses for them. But in the quiet of my apartment, without Emma's drawings on the fridge or Rachel's voice echoing down the hall, the pieces started to realign. 6 weeks ago, Rachel changed her phone password, said it was for work. 2 weeks before that, she started ordering things online: supplements, herbal sleep aids, essential oils. Nothing obvious, but unusual for someone who used to make fun of that wellness crap. I started combing through old texts, backwards, looking for signs, mood swings, apologies that came too fast, accusations that didn't track. There was a pattern I hadn't seen before. Rachel had started saying Emma was too attached to me, that I was spoiling her. Anytime we disagreed, she'd take Emma for the weekend to her parents, coming back colder than when she left. I remembered one night in March. Emma had a nightmare and crawled into bed with us. Rachel got up and slept in the guest room without a word. When I asked why, she said, "She needs boundaries. She's not your doll." At the time, I thought it was exhaustion. Now I wasn't so sure. I called Leah that evening. We hadn't spoken in months. She picked up on the third ring. "Daniel?" she said, cautious. "I'm not calling to argue," I said. "I just need to ask you something." Silence. Then, "Okay. Have you noticed anything off with Rachel lately? Mood swings, paranoia, anything strange?" Leah hesitated. "She's been stressed. Said you were being difficult. Did she mention the hospital? The toxicology report? No, she said quietly. Only that you were angry. That you scared Emma. I closed my eyes. That's not true. I believe you, she said after a long pause. Or at least I want to. I didn't expect that. Just keep your eyes open, I said. I already am, she replied. I couldn't sleep. I'd gotten used to the silence, but not this kind. The kind where something waits in the walls, unsaid. It was around 2 a.m. when I remembered the camera. 6 months ago, after Emma had a series of unexplained bruises from preschool scuffles, I installed a discreet nanny cam in the playroom. Nothing dramatic, just a small black lens tucked behind a vent, recording motion-activated clips to cloud storage. Rachel knew about the baby monitor in the nursery. She didn't know about this one. At the time, it was for peace of mind. Now it might be the only thing that could save me. I booted up my laptop, logged in through the backup admin Rachel never had the password for, and pulled up the cloud archives. The files were there. Hundreds of thumbnails, each time-stamped. I scrolled straight to the morning it happened. June 3rd, 7:41 a.m. Emma in her unicorn pajamas, dancing with a plastic wand. Rachel walks in holding 2 cups, juice glasses. She sets one down and kneels beside Emma, brushing hair from her face. I muted the audio at first. Couldn't take it. Then I pressed play. They talk for a moment. Then Rachel says something that makes Emma hesitate. She picks up the cup and sniffs it. Rachel nods, encouraging. Emma sips, then grimaces. Rachel smiles, and strokes her back. I fast-forwarded through the next 20 minutes. Emma grew sluggish, curled up on the carpet, her body softening like sleep had overtaken her all at once. Rachel sat beside her the whole time, scrolling her phone. Then she stood, adjusted the camera's angle slightly, still unaware it was rolling, and left the room. I sat back, hands trembling. I'd seen overdoses in strangers. I'd never watched one happen to my daughter in real time. But there was more, and I wasn't done. I played the footage again, this time with audio. The words were clear. "Just a little sleepy medicine," Rachel whispered, kneeling in front of Emma. "Daddy's going to hurt us if we're not careful. So this helps, okay?" Emma frowned. "Daddy wouldn't hurt us." Rachel smiled gently, pressing the cup into her hands. "Sometimes he gets confused. We have to protect ourselves." It hit me like a body blow. Not just the drugging, the manipulation, the planting of fear in a 6-year-old who still called rainstorms sky tantrums. Rachel was building a story, carefully, strategically, the kind that lives in custody hearings and family court affidavits, the kind that rewrites a man's entire identity in 2 paragraphs or less. She wasn't trying to hurt Emma, not in the way people imagine poisoners do. She was trying to control her, shape her, cut me out of the picture by turning Emma's mind against me. And it almost worked. If I hadn't remembered the camera, if I hadn't set up that off-the-books cloud account when I got paranoid about shared passwords, if I hadn't trusted my gut when everything else told me to just wait and ride it out, I'd be the monster in Emma's bedtime stories right now. I watched the clip again. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Evidence isn't emotion. It's fact. And this fact might be the only way I get my daughter back. I downloaded the files, backed them up in 3 places: flash drive, encrypted cloud, external SSD in a fireproof box. Then I made a single copy on my phone. One clip, one moment. Just long enough to hear Emma say, "Daddy wouldn't hurt us." She still believed in me. That meant I had a chance. I reached out to Aaron Sullivan the next morning. We hadn't spoken in years, not since the car accident outside Riverbend that nearly took her nephew. I'd been first on the scene, kept him breathing until Life Flight arrived. She'd sent a handwritten note afterward. "If you ever need anything at all, call me." I cashed that favor in at 8:12 a.m. "Daniel Briggs," she said when she answered. "Didn't think I'd be hearing from you unless it was medical." "I need legal," I said. "Family court. And it's urgent." I gave her the outline, the text, the hospital, the footage. Her tone changed by the second. "You have video of her drugging your daughter?" "I do." There was a pause. Then, "Send me everything. Today." By noon, I was sitting in her office with my laptop open and the footage playing on her monitor. Erin took notes with the calm of someone who's seen worse but knows this is bad enough. "We're not going to make this about revenge," she said once it finished. "You want your daughter back. That's the mission." "Exactly." Then we go slow, strategic, paper trail first. Her behavior, her statements, any medical records, police reports, text messages. If she's been building a false narrative, we need to show that pattern, not just this event. I nodded. "I've already started a timeline." She said I was unstable. "I've got my employment history, clean psych eval from the department, a dozen witnesses who've never seen me raise my voice." "What about her?" Aaron asked. I hesitated. "I don't have proof, but I've suspected she's been unraveling for a while." "Start there," she said. "We need witnesses, documentation, anything that shows this wasn't a moment of panic. It was calculated." That night, I created a new folder. Case. Emma. Inside it went everything. Rachel's texts, medical summaries, screenshots of her blaming me, a record of Emma's ER stay. This wasn't a war. It was a rescue mission. And I wasn't going in half-armed. The next step came from a whisper. Leah texted me late at night. "You didn't hear this from me, but Rachel's been seeing a therapist named Jennings for over a year." I stared at the message. Does she still go? Weekly, sometimes more. "Can you get me anything?" 10 minutes later. "Give me a day." It felt wrong, asking Leah to dig into her sister's private life. But I wasn't looking for scandal. I was looking for patterns, for the thing behind the thing. The next evening, Leah slipped me a sealed envelope at a cafe 30 minutes from town. "She doesn't talk to me much anymore," she said quietly. "But I've seen the shifts. She's not okay, Daniel." Inside were printouts of session summaries, notes from Dr. Jennings's private practice. Not full transcripts, just dates and themes. Words jumped off the page: paranoia, control, postpartum anxiety unresolved, fixation on safety. Belief husband may be manipulative. In one note, Jennings logged Rachel saying, "Emma would be better off with just me. Daniel doesn't get it. He doesn't understand the danger." I handed the papers to Erin the next morning. She scanned the highlights, her jaw tightening. "This helps," she said. "But it's not admissible. Not yet." "We'll subpoena." "We can try. But therapy notes are protected. Courts are cautious with mental health records, especially in custody cases. We'll need to show cause." that Emma's safety is directly impacted. She drugged our daughter, I said. Yes, Aaron replied. But now we need to prove that it wasn't an accident, that it was part of a larger pattern. That means witnesses, expert testimony, and pressure if we have to apply it. She paused, then added, "This is the part where most people fold. When it gets hard. When the system protects the wrong person, just long enough to make you doubt yourself." "I'm not folding," I said. Aaron gave a tight nod. "Then let's keep going." I left her office and walked to my car with the envelope still in my hands. The weight of it wasn't guilt. It was proof. I wasn't crazy. Rachel was sick, and if no one else was going to stop her, I would. The CPS meeting was held in a windowless office in a government building that smelled like dust and old coffee. A folding table, 2 chairs, one worn carpet tile that kept curling at the edges. I sat across from a woman named Michelle Warren, clipboard in hand, polite smile glued in place. She introduced herself as an investigator for Child Protective Services. "We've had a report of potential neglect and endangerment," she said gently. "We're just gathering information at this point." "From Rachel," I said. She didn't confirm, but she didn't deny it either. Michelle asked questions in a calm, methodical voice. Did I keep prescription medications in the house? Had I ever raised my voice around Emma? Had I left her unattended, even for short periods of time? I answered each question evenly. I kept no controlled substances. I'd never laid a hand on Emma. I had 4 years of pediatric emergency care experience and had saved more children than I could count. She wrote it all down, but didn't look at me the whole time. When it ended, she thanked me for my time and left without promising anything. Later that night, Erin called. "They're just checking boxes," she said. "Rachel's accusations triggered a protocol. This isn't about truth. It's about procedure. Don't take it personally." "I'm not allowed near my daughter," I said flatly. "What part of that shouldn't I take personally?" "I know it feels like the system's against you," she said. "But we're working inside of it, not outside. Let her keep lying. It's her trap, not yours." I didn't answer. I couldn't. The silence in my apartment had started to feel like static, always there, humming. Emma's room was exactly how she left it, her toothbrush still in the cup, her books on the nightstand, and me, the villain in a story I hadn't even written. There's no manual for this kind of thing. No training protocol for how to stay still while your child is stolen from you, piece by piece, behind the curtain of bureaucracy. I sat in the dark that night and didn't move. Didn't cry, didn't scream, just waited and documented. It started with a phone call from Mrs. Kinsey, the enrollment officer at Hawthorne Elementary. "I'm sorry to bother you, Mr. Briggs," she said carefully. "But Rachel Briggs, well, she's listed here as Rachel Linden, and she's trying to enroll Emma under her maiden name." My pulse ticked once in my throat. "She said you'd signed over all rights. I just wanted to confirm." "I didn't," I said. "There's a restraining order, not a custody ruling, and I'm still her legal father." "I thought so," she said. Something felt off. After we hung up, I sat there staring at the wall, the weight of it sinking in. Rachel wasn't just trying to keep Emma from me. She was trying to erase me completely. I texted Leah, "Call me when you can. Urgent." She came by that afternoon. Her face was drawn. "She's unraveling," she said, no preamble. "She's not even trying to hide it anymore." What happened? I stopped by the house unannounced. Said I missed Emma. Rachel didn't like it, but I went inside anyway. Emma looked pale, tired, off. My stomach tightened. Did she say anything? She barely spoke. Rachel hovered the whole time, snapping at me for asking too many questions. Then Leah pulled out her phone and played the audio. Rachel's voice. I told you to stop putting thoughts in her head. You don't get to decide what's best for my child. Emma's voice. Stop yelling. A soft whimper. Then Rachel, louder. You want to go to your father? Is that it? You think he cares? Then a door slammed. Crying. I didn't realize I was holding my breath until the recording ended. Leah's hands were shaking. I didn't know what else to do. But something's wrong. Really wrong. You did the right thing, I said. Aaron would know how to use this. The cracks were forming now. Not just in Rachel's story, but in her control. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something unfamiliar. Hope. Family court doesn't look like it does on TV. No jury, no theatrics. Just a judge behind a raised bench, a clerk with a stack of files, and two sides trying to sound more reasonable than the other. Rachel sat across from me, flanked by her lawyer, a polished woman in a gray suit who spoke with clinical precision. Rachel wore a soft blue blouse, hair down in waves, makeup light, just enough to say I'm stable. I'm the mother. When she spoke, her voice broke at the right moments. I was afraid. Daniel had become unpredictable, controlling. Emma was showing signs of stress. I did what I thought was best. No mention of the footage, no mention of the drugs, just the same curated image she'd spent months projecting. The loving, concerned mother doing her best against impossible odds. I said very little. Aaron had prepped me. Stay calm, stay measured, let the evidence speak. Your Honor, she said, rising with the flash drive in hand. We ask that you review material evidence that directly contradicts the petitioner's claims. This includes video footage, audio recordings, text messages, and statements from a licensed mental health professional. The judge, a woman named Henley, looked skeptical until the screen lit up. Emma's tiny voice. Rachel's whisper. Daddy's going to hurt us if we're not careful. Leah's recorded visit. Emma crying. Rachel's raised voice. Then excerpts from Dr. Jennings's session notes. The term paranoid delusions hung heavy in the air. By the time Aaron finished, the courtroom was silent. Judge Henley removed her glasses. I've seen a lot in this court, but this concerns me deeply. Rachel's lawyer scrambled to object. Suggested the footage could be fabricated, the audio tampered. Aaron countered with chain of custody, timestamps, cloud backups. The judge held up her hand. That's enough. I'm issuing an emergency ruling today. Rachel didn't look at me, just stared at the floor. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. I just breathed. The order was signed by noon. Temporary custody transferred to me, effective immediately. Rachel was to have no unsupervised contact until a full psychological evaluation could be completed. I picked up Emma from the courthouse's family services wing. She was sitting with a counselor, holding a stuffed bear and coloring a picture of a house with no people in it. When she saw me, she didn't run. She didn't smile. She just looked uncertain, like she wasn't sure if I was real. Hey, Em, I said gently. It's okay. You're coming home with me. She stood slowly, still clutching the bear. Where's Mommy? "She's okay," I said, "but we're going to stay together for a little while. Just you and me, like before." She didn't answer, just walked beside me, small hand gripping my fingers. That first night back in the apartment was quiet. She wouldn't sleep in her room alone, so I made up the couch with her favorite blanket, put on the ocean sound machine she used to love. She lay curled up, eyes open in the dark. "Daddy?" "Yeah?" "Did I do something wrong?" My chest cracked. "No, sweetheart. None of this is your fault." She was asleep 10 minutes later. In the days that followed, things came back in pieces. Her laugh when she saw the dog at the park, her crooked drawings on the fridge, the way she asked me to do the voices when we read bedtime stories. There were still nightmares, still moments where she froze when I raised my voice, even slightly. But she was healing, and so was I. Not because I'd won a case, but because for the first time in weeks, my daughter was safe. The full report from Dr. Jennings landed on Erin's desk a week later. She called me in after hours, her voice unreadable on the phone. "You should see this yourself," she said. It wasn't a short read, 15 pages, single-spaced, clinical, but it was all there in black and white. Years of untreated trauma, escalating anxiety, and patterns of coercive control that had begun long before Emma was born. The official diagnosis: borderline personality traits with compulsive lying, delusional ideation, and Munchausen by proxy indicators. In short, Rachel didn't just believe she was protecting Emma. She needed to believe it, no matter how many lies it took. The report detailed her obsession with medical emergencies, her pattern of presenting Emma as fragile or ill to gain sympathy or control. And it confirmed what I already knew. Rachel had created the entire narrative of me as dangerous, not out of fear, but to justify what she'd already done. Erin filed the findings with the court the next morning. 2 days later, I got the call. Rachel had been formally charged with child endangerment, filing false reports, and interfering with a custody order. Her arraignment was quiet. No press, no drama. Just a woman in a blue sweater standing before a judge, lips pressed thin, eyes hollow. I didn't attend. Erin said I didn't need to, and I believed her. I'd already seen everything I needed to. CPS closed their file on me with an apology. I didn't respond. Not out of bitterness, just exhaustion. Truth isn't loud. It doesn't bang on doors. It waits. And when it shows up, it doesn't always fix everything. But it clears the air, and that was enough. Emma stopped flinching when I said her name. It didn't happen overnight, but slowly, her shoulders stopped tensing. Her laughter didn't sound like she was borrowing it. She let me brush her hair again, sat in my lap during movies, started asking me to make pancakes the way only I do. Too much syrup, slightly burnt edges. She'd still wake up some nights crying, not fully awake. Sometimes she'd ask if Mommy was mad at her. I'd hold her until she fell asleep again, heart breaking quietly, piece by piece. I started a journal. A real one. Not digital. A leather-bound notebook I kept in a locked drawer. Each entry was for her. Not to relive what happened, but to make sure that one day, if she ever wondered, if anyone ever tried to twist the past, she'd know exactly how hard I fought, how much she mattered. The first page read, "For Emma, so you never forget the truth." We started therapy together. The counselor, soft-spoken, kind, made it feel like playtime. Drawings, puppets, gentle questions. After a few weeks, Emma whispered to her, "Mommy told me Daddy was bad." "What do you think?" the therapist asked. Emma looked over at me. Then she smiled, small but real. "I think she was wrong." That night, she climbed into bed beside me with a book in her arms. "Can you read this one?" she asked. "Of course," I said. She nestled under the covers, and I read, my voice steady, the sound of healing slow but certain in the room. The text came through at 6:07 a.m. I was making Emma's lunch: turkey sandwich, carrot sticks, those little pretzels she liked shaped like stars, when the phone buzzed on the counter. "Rachel, restricted number. Tell Emma I did it because I love her. I wanted to keep her safe from you." I stared at the screen for a long moment. No anger, no shock. Just a quiet kind of fatigue. She hadn't changed. Not really. Still clinging to the story she built, even as it crumbled around her. I slid the phone into the drawer, unopened, and deleted the message without replying. Emma came into the kitchen a few minutes later, still tugging one sock over her heel, hair a little wild. "Do we have applesauce?" "Check the fridge," I said. She did. "Found it." We didn't talk about Rachel much anymore. Not because it was forbidden, but because Emma didn't ask, and I didn't push. I'd learned something these past few months. Truth didn't always need to be shouted. Sometimes it just needed to be there. Quiet, unshaken. We left the apartment just after 7, Emma's backpack bouncing on her shoulders. The walk to school was just under a mile, enough time to count squirrels, name clouds, and step on every crack, despite what the sidewalk poems say. She held my hand the whole way. No press, no courtrooms, no closed doors or whispered accusations. Just us, just the morning, just the sound of sneakers on pavement and her voice telling me a story she'd made up about a dinosaur who wanted to be a chef. When we reached the school gate, she hugged me a little tighter than usual. "I like Tuesdays," she said. "They're just normal." "Me too," I said. She ran off toward the playground. I waited until the bell rang before turning to walk home. The sky was gray, not dramatic. The street was quiet, not symbolic. And that was the beauty of it. No finale, no last confrontation. Just life, reclaimed. She tried to rewrite the story. I just told the truth and let it speak for itself. This story was brutal, but this story on the right-hand side is even more insane.